The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go! Jesse wants to kick off the show because he never does. So, Jesse, what do you want? What do you need?
I had a quick question because I didn't give you enough credit over the last 2 years, Adam, because you've been raising your little child, Everly, your little baby girl, and every day so when the Leafs games are on, you'll watch a Leaf game. You'll go to bed, you'll wake up the next day, you'll go to work, and in between that, you're doing 8 other million things, you're raising your child.
Where is this
all
going?
That stuff, you know?
Where is this going?
Yesterday, I watched the Leafs. I had to cut off the game a little early because I had to go to bed and wake up early and go to work with you. And then, so I did all that, and I finished my work day. And then I try and pull up this LFR thing I like to watch before the podcast, and it's not ready yet. And I wanted to ask why Adam, who also raised a child, was also able to do his job. And what is stopping you?
Wow.
Because Adam, we went to work and we had a full work day and we came home and, LFR still wasn't there.
Man.
I need to know what happened.
Tough crowd. Oh,
yeah. Well,
Steve,
gotta say, the second he brought up the child, I'm like, where is he going and how does it negatively impact me? And we found it. We got there. I had technical difficulties today during the editing process, but I really ought to have these things up before noon. I try to generally, and I just didn't today. Out of pure sloth.
Now,
I make no excuses.
I think you're dodging a little bit of this because consistently the people have been complaining about a lack of night of our LFRs and noontime uploads. Can you explain further?
No, I think I already did. I'm just, I have a really hard time starting stuff because I'm a big fan of the ride. I am not a big fan of the line. I find I'm one of those guys who finds the line to be scarier than the roller coaster itself. So I just take a long time to get everything started, and I need to be better about that.
So it hasn't been an effort on your part to move away from nighttime LFRs?
Well, nighttime LFRs are just there's something that makes my wife sad on account of I scream for a living.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to do them. And also I'm usually tired by 10 o'clock or 11 when the games are done. It's going to be past midnight tonight. But those are rare scenarios. Listen, Jesse, I am copping to it. Today I was just slow. That is all. And I know I'm limiting myself in my career. Did I tell you that you two would have loved this? Because I've been better recently about the whole being late thing. But producer Drew got a cameo from Sean Avery where he just eviscerated me for 5 minutes, 4.5 of which were for being late.
Really?
Have you worked with Sean Avery?
No, he bought a cameo.
You bought the cameo.
Oh,
man, I got to get on that, by the way. I keep talking to Steve's cameo person. They're like, are you going to get on? And I'm like, yeah. And then I keep forgetting. So, I got to get on.
Let's turn this around on Adam.
I know.
Adam, why aren't you on Cameo?
Why isn't Jesse on Cameo? Jesse was on Cameo. I'm projecting.
I was. I didn't like the platform.
No.
I wouldn't consistently do the videos, so it wasn't worth my effort.
Fair enough. Yeah. There's
Jeff O'Neal's on one of them. Like, oh man, I have 20 cameos to do.
Jeff O'Neal's on one of them, and he a friend of mine bought it and showed it to me, and Jeff O'Neal's really good at them, like really, really good at them. Just very, very funny. I think it's an art. Like, I don't know how I'll be. I'm gonna give it a shot. And if anybody signs up, I doubt there'll be many, but if I do get a few, it'll be kind of fun to try, but I just don't know like how that's going to be. I feel like if you're like, I've seen some really bad ones floating around. Yeah. And I know that there's the guy who plays Kevin from The Office made like $1 million last year doing it, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's amazing. But like, I think it's got to be tough. Like, I even see your TikTok, Steve, and I'm like, man, I don't even have time. I barely have time to even look at TikTok, and I love TikTok. But it's hard to like your reaction videos and stuff like that. It's tough to keep up with all of it. I
need my own social media producer. Like,
I'm not surprised. I think you do. I think you do.
Someone who makes videos for me that I can put on Instagram and TikTok, and someone whose sole job is to smack the phone out of my hand when I go to tweet. Like just stuff like that. Stuff like that. Stop.
You were tweeting.
Stop tweeting. Make your video. It's past noon. You dick.
You weren't bad last night. I thought you were good.
I was good, boy. Yeah. I was good, but I had to remind myself because I had lots of things to say, and I'm like, that's what the YouTube channel is for. But I thought I want to say them now. But it'll be better if you don't say them now. And I said, fine. Which I usually don't say fine. I usually go, what if I did it anyway to my own detriment? And
the main message from your LFR today is be nice to Jimmy, which we'll get into in a second. But let's get into Who Wore the Crown. Jesse, today brought to you by...
Today's Crown segment is brought to you by I don't have the Reddit page up because it refreshed on me. So you have to give me a second.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it could be.
I've got one. Do you want me to do one?
No, because
okay, you got it.
I've received a ton of donations from SickKids, and everybody who's DM'd me all of your donations and your sponsors for Who Are the Crown, you should receive a message back that says the date that you will sponsor the Crown.
Oh, amazing.
So we're like backed up until like through April through April till the beginning of May. Because we've received like a dozen SickKids donations, and I want to tally up how much money we've raised through the segment. So it's going to be awesome. But
this was like a joke. That's so crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So Adam, I do have yours. It's on the list of ones that we will get to in the next coming weeks. But yeah, you should receive, if you send me a SickKids thing, you'll receive a DM back. Waffles, who handles all of my DMs, she'll be typing with her paws and sending you back the date that you'll be sponsoring the segment. But today's comes from the Reddit page. It's from Building Dread. That's Zach's username. Zach says, "Hi guys, I was hoping my college organization could sponsor Who Are the Crown. My student-run club, Enable UC at the University of Cincinnati, produces 3D printed upper limb prosthetics for children for free. We have worked with kids from our home state of Ohio and as far away as Trinidad and Tobago, my father's home country, and Bolivia. Right now, the number one thing we need is awareness to find and reach more kids across the US, Canada, and even the rest of the world who could benefit from one of our devices. As one of the student leaders of Enable UC, who has been a regular listener to SDP for 3-ish years now, it would be a huge honor if Enable UC could receive a shout out on Who Wore the Crown." Here it is. Zach says he couldn't donate to SickKids because he's from the States, but he donated to Cincinnati Children's Medical Center. And he did send the receipt and proof. So Adam, please shout out Zach and Enable UC and read the liner. And he sponsors Who Are the Crown.
God, I got to get a heads up about these because I got to put them together in my head and they're very difficult. All right.
No, it's so much better like this. There's way better.
No, that's the fun of it.
Okay, all right.
It's like Adam's History Corner. It's on the spot.
All right. Well, listen, today's Who Wore the Crown is brought to you by Zach and the crew at Enable UC doing incredible work. Next time that you want to support an incredible cause in Cincinnati, Ohio, why not?
Why not?
Reach out to Enable UC and help them promote and help them fund and do anything that you can to help because, wow, that sounds like an incredible cause. Why not be a part of it?
It is wild to me that, like, I'm seeing more of this on Reddit where it's like so-and-so needed a prosthetic arm, so we made one in our house, and it works great. And I'm like, what is the future?
Yeah,
that's
if
wild.
You buy, like, those 3D printers it's kind of like the first computers, right? They were like the size of an office tower. And like, probably in like 10 years, we're all going to have one.
Yeah, they're getting more and more commercial. Like, they're getting to the point where you can buy them and they can fit on a desk and you can get the code and print something right out. It won't be a big object, but you can get something and just print it out.
But imagine instead of buying a product from like Amazon or whatever, you're buying the code and you make it at home. It's kind of neat, kind of a cool concept, and probably environmentally a lot friendlier. So pretty neat. I don't know. I think that's really cool. So that's the start of Who Wore the Crown. Steve, who wore the crown?
My goodness. So many names. Like I was thinking, I said in the LFR today that you couldn't have possibly watched because I'm a lazy piece of shit. I have no notes. Like every player on this roster has had their time to shine this season. Every single player has had their moment in the sun. But one player who has had such a positive impact and been talked about so little, because I believe they only have 7 points. But what is the point of this player? Well, it's not the points that they get. It's the points they prevent. Jimothy Brodie is absolutely awesome. He's so great. The Leafs have had big problems with 2-on-1s. Last year, they had a huge issue with 2-on-1s. They don't have nearly as many this year. And damn it, if he hasn't stopped each and every one of them. He has stopped each and every one of them. And the L1R1 that he did last night, followed by some spinny nunchuck thing to cut off the pass. I think it was from Draisaitl. Absolutely unreal, this guy. I love this player so much. And he's the kind of guy I think you just got to watch. Really love TJ Brodie. He gets my crown.
My crown is going to go to one John F. Kennedy, VC. I don't think that's his real name, but James VC.
What if it was?
Jimmy VC is the guy that we've decided that collectively on Leafs Twitter that we don't like. And I don't understand it really. And Steve's brought it up a couple times, and we'll get into this deeper. But it's not like Jimmy VC's given up the puck a lot. It's not like he's a defensive liability a lot. He just hasn't put up points. And we see him as a points guy. We see him as a goal-scoring winger because with the Rangers, he was scoring about 15 a year. The Sabres, he didn't, but who does? Not even Jeff Skinner can do that. No. And frankly, he's been like, where is he going to score goals in this lineup? Really? He's had some opportunities, but the fourth line. Last night, 2 goals, and I think it was nice for him to get the monkey off his back and actually see some success. Do I fully know where he fits in this lineup when everybody's healthy? No, I have no idea. But I think that's the whole point is rarely do you get a fully healthy lineup. This isn't NHL 21. Usually going into the playoffs, you got 1 or 2 guys that are banged up or hurt. And for my money, Jimmy Vesey's not a bad depth option, not bad for $900,000. There's a reason he's not on waivers like you're seeing with Derek Ryan and Val Filppula today. And, you know, this guy is a legitimate NHL guy. And that is what they're paying him to do, is to be a guy. At $900,000, you are a guy. He is a guy that fits. And it was nice to see him score a couple goals. And man, was it ever great to see Jason Spezza's face every time the puck went in last night. He seemed to be around it a whole heck of a lot. Jesse, you're up next.
Last night was a special moment for one member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that member was Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas earned his 100th regular season win since he became general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I don't think we're giving him enough credit as to how deep a team he's built and how solid, 100 games in, two and a half-ish years in. May 11th, 2018 is when he signed up for to be GM. And the team consistently, even with all of these injuries, wave after wave, there's forwards and defense now that can stop McDavid and Draisaitl that shows up consistently every game. So I want to congratulate Dubas on his 100th win by giving him the crown this episode.
There's actually a thread going around. It's basically the Toronto Maple Leafs PR kind of announcing that Kyle Dubas was going to be the GM. And if you go back and you read the comments, and this is from 2018, the amount of mouth breathers. Oh, it's the doofus era. Oh, where's Mark Hunter going to go? Bet he wins the Stanley Cup first. It's just very funny to go back and read those comments, especially, you know, the Leafs are on a bit of a tear at the moment. So it's kind of funny, but You're absolutely right, Jesse, man. Kyle Dubas.
He's built one hell of a team. And he was also the fastest general manager to reach 100 regular season wins in Maple Leafs history. So he's technically, at this point in his career, the winningest GM in Toronto Maple Leafs history. So there you go.
And for 1.25 seasons, he had a coach who didn't even like the players he gave him.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's Who Wore the Crown. Brought to you guys. You know I'm terrible with the names. Jesse, what's the name?
Zach.
Okay.
It's a complicated name. I get
brought
it.
to you by Zach in Cincinnati at ONeal UC, the University of Cincinnati, making prosthetic arms and legs and for people that need them. It's incredible what the work they're doing. Shout out to you, Zach. Thank you for your donation to the Cincinnati Kids Hospital. And why not? Why not? Be like Zach. Be a good person. And hey, if you're in the States and you can help out Enable UC in any sort of way, we encourage you to do so. I don't know how they need help other than promotion. So here's the promotion, guys. And congratulations to you on your great work. Now, Leafs, there's so many stats that come out of this that you just never thought you would hear. Okay. Leafs beat the Oilers in 3 straight games. They beat them with 3 different goalies. They outscore them 13-1. And with the exception of a Leon Draisaitl assist, hold the last 2 Hart winners to basically 0 points, 1 point, I guess.
1 point.
Over 3 games.
You know the McDavid one?
What's that?
This is only the 3rd time in his entire career he's been held off the score sheet for 3 straight games. 3rd time his entire career. That's how bonkers banana sandwich good this guy is, by the way. And how special the Leafs have been against him. I said in my LFR today, yeah, but let's see the Leafs shut down McDavid against Tampa, which is borderline what people are asking them to do now. They can only play the team in front of them, and the team in front of them had the last 2 Hart winners, and they shut them both down.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal.
Yep.
Unreal what they're doing, man.
No, it's an incredible thing. And this is one of those times where, like, it's not just a team on a heater. Even the advanced stats are saying this team's pretty darn good. Now, it's interesting because, so they win 3 games, but my question at the end of this was, what do we make of this? Like, what does this actually mean? Does it mean anything at all? Or is it just a nice 3-game stretch where Leafs fans get to dunk on Edmonton Oilers fans and that's about it? Other than the battle between Mike Smith and Zach Hyman last night, well, the game was completely out of reach. And I love that Zach Hyman scored and Jason Spezza was just howling with laughter. That was great.
Yeah.
The thing that I take away from this series with Edmonton is nothing. Like, I don't know what this really shows us. I haven't learned anything about the Leafs. We knew they were good. I think Edmonton learned that the Leafs were good. I think the Edmonton media learned that the Leafs were good because you had guys like David Staples and even Frank Saravalli saying, hey, all the Oilers have to do is beat the Leafs 3 straight times, which going into this, I think the Leafs have they lost 6 games this year?
Total.
6 games total this year. So even saying that is pretty outrageous as a claim. You expect this series to be a 2-1. You don't expect this series to be a 3-0 on either side. And nobody did. Nobody did. And I want to read a couple things from Mark Spector, if I can.
Sure.
At sportsnet.ca, because Mark had a blistering 3 articles where he tore into Edmonton, to the Oilers, that is, and tore into himself. So let me read this to you because I think this is fascinating.
Wow. Okay.
First off, this is a quote from Tyson Barrie, guys. They embarrassed us 3 games in a row. That's a tough one to swallow. And then Spector followed this up with, said defenseman Tyson Barrie, pointless in all 3 games, like so many others. And then Spec goes into, there isn't a single element of the sport of hockey that Edmonton can claim to have executed better than Toronto through 9 periods of hockey. So thorough was the defeat.
Dude, he's not wrong.
Well, and let me keep going, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Give me 1 sec, because I love this next line. And I'm just cherry picking from Spec's article. Heck, we'll bet Toronto's masseuse was even better than the Oilers' masseuse. And the copy from Chris Johnson and Luke Fox. Don't even get me started on how much better their stuff was. Don't even get me started on how much better their stuff was than mine this week. Meaning their articles were even better than Edmonton. That's Spec's sense of humor coming through, because he's got to make light of this somehow. But very, very interesting to hear an Edmonton writer write like that, because they'll go out of their way, and rightfully so, to support the Oilers where possible. There's a lot to like about the Oilers coming into this series, and I call it a series because that's what it is.
Yeah.
What do you take from this? What does this mean?
I think it means the Leafs were better in those 3 games. You know what I mean? But the idea of being better, the Leafs are better. Like, everyone's trying to, what I said today, you know, everyone's focused on the Leafs have no problems right now. So they're trying to create problems down the line. Are the Leafs better than Tampa? Are the Leafs better than Boston? They literally cannot answer that question until June. They can't answer that question until June. How are the Leafs going to afford Zach Hyman? They cannot answer that question until July or August, unless they sign him to a mid-season extension. What? So right now the Leafs are better. But there were moments where I saw the game getting away from them. At the beginning of the last 2 games, actually, the third period, the first 10 minutes of the third game, so last night, that was their worst opener of the series. Edmonton was the better team. They had more jump. They had more chances.
5 shots on Freddie before the 10-minute mark. None for the Leafs. Oh,
and just sign to the cross. Thank goodness the puck didn't go in. Right? But because it's a series, like 3-0 sweeps, I could actually see there being more of them, and not just like for the Leafs, just for anybody, because by the third goal, the Tavares goal, the Oilers were done. Ugh, I'm sick of this team. I'm sick of the Leafs. Enough of this shit. They seem so done with it, and they were just mentally defeated. If that's the first game of the series, who knows? They come back and win. Leafs have blown a 4-goal lead this season to a team that's currently in last. It's totally doable. I think the first game, Oilers were no good. The second game, they were much better. The Leafs just happened to beat them. And then in the third game, they decided they didn't want to play anymore. They didn't want to play anymore. And still, my Leaf fan brain will not allow myself to get comfortable. I'm like, now they're on the second half of a back-to-back against Vancouver. This is the definition of a trap game. Then they have another one against Vancouver. If the Leafs go 3-0 against the Oilers and then 0-2 against the Canucks, A, it'd be believable. And B, this fan base will be beside itself. Yes. Absolutely beside itself. And then they head into a 3-game series against Winnipeg, who is currently second in the division. So to your point about wrapping up the division, they've faced everyone a decent amount of times. They've only played the Jets once, and now the Jets are second. We're going to find out a lot about this team after those 3 games against the Jets.
Well, and I wanted to mention that because, you know, my point about the Leafs having wrapped up the division against the Montreal Canadiens, I think, as crazy as it sounds, that Saturday loss to the Montreal Canadiens still stings. Because at this point, and you're going to laugh at me, it's a game they should not have lost. It's a game they should not have lost. They came out flat. It happens. But I still harp on that game. Because when you look at this, like, I'm going to pull up the standings right now. Winnipeg.
Was it Julian's last win as a Hab? I think it was.
I might have been. You know what? I actually know. Winnipeg's got 2 games in hand on Toronto. They got 29 points. And the Leafs have 38. So the Leafs are 9 points up. That's great. The Leafs could have 40 points and it could be 29. That looks a lot better. And I know that sounds ridiculous and it's small and I'm splitting hairs, and it is. But it's a heck of a lot more out of reach than what they've got now. And you got to remember, Winnipeg's got 2 games in hand on Toronto, which, you know, when you got Connor Hellebuyck in net, you've got a good chance of winning. Like, it's funny. Nobody really gave Winnipeg a shot at the beginning of the season. But if you got a Vezina caliber goaltender playing like a Vezina caliber goaltender, not like, you know, a Vezina caliber goaltender who won it because everybody forgot to watch the goalies this year and said, whoever was good the last couple of years, we'll give it to him. Connor Hellebuyck has been incredible the last 3 years. Incredible. And it's very easy for a high-scoring team like the Leafs to dry up when it comes to scoring. We've seen it happen, and we've seen it happen. It's not just like, one player dries up. Like Willie had a bit of a cold streak. Now he's scored, 5 goals in 4 games, and I think he'd lead most teams in the NHL in goals currently if he were on them. I think it's like 60, 70% of the teams. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
But we saw against Columbus last year that Willie, John, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner can all dry up at the same time. It can happen when you run into strong goaltending. I agree with you, Steve. I think this Winnipeg set, not to discount the Vancouver Canucks, because, at some point they got to play for something. And they'll probably want to do it against the Leafs, because who doesn't love to dunk on the Leafs, right?
Well, the Leafs aren't going to go 10-0 against anybody.
No. So with the Jets coming, that Jets series I think is going to be kind of your Gandalf stick in the earth, you shall not pass moment. If the Leafs truly want to win this division, they got to come out with that 2-1 split, right? I think yeah. And I think that solidifies them. At that point, we can say, okay, easily the best team in the division. But I'm not totally convinced yet. And Winnipeg is a very, very strong team that no one gave a shot to. I thought that they would make the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be this good. This is an amazing team.
I know that's a laughable thing to say about a team that's 18-4-2, but it is true. They have only played the Jets once, and it was a close game.
And the Jets are 14-7-1. Like, that's not.
They're really good. And maybe captain of the why doesn't this guy get talked about more team, Nick Ehlers.
Yeah.
Like you talk about the offensive weapons the Jets have, and Line A at the beginning of the season, now Dubois, and we talk about Wheeler and Scheifele and Nick Ehlers. That guy's amazing. He's a really good player, a driver. He got in a fight the other night. Really good player. Don't know why he's not talked about more.
It's interesting with Nick Ehlers, because I think it was either him or Nylander. So whatever the Jets picked, they were going to pick Ehlers or Nylander. And I think, there's like $1 million difference in what the two guys make, but their production's about the same, isn't it? About on par.
I'm not sure. I know it's similar, but that was
pretty similar. But it's one of those where when it came down to pick 7 and pick 8, it seemed like, okay, it's got to be Ehlers or Nylander. Whoever the Jets pick, the Leafs will pick the other guy. It's funny when you see their careers and they've kind of followed the same track, although Ehlers is quiet. And Nylander's quiet too. It's just the media won't shut up about him.
Right.
And Ehlers is quietly under the radar, a really great player, but I would say similar.
He is. That was a great moment. I remember at the draft in Philly, the Hurricanes picked Hayden Fleury. No offense to Hayden Fleury, but I remember being like, what? That means the Leafs get one of. Oh, I just wanted one of those two to be available, Nylander or Ehlers, and I'm just sitting there. The Toronto Maple Leafs are proud to select, and I'm like, you're about to say Nick Ritchie, and I'm going to kick you in the dick. And then, and they picked William Nylander. I can't believe it. And Jets got Ehlers too. Good stuff.
So why isn't your guys' reaction to the Leafs' current state is kind of like, okay, it's good, but like there's so much more room. Why isn't the consensus kind of on the Leafs' current state being like they're in a great position and it's time to just kind of look ahead to, hey, hopefully they can win around in the playoffs? Because like they're like it's 18-4-1, like you guys said, or 18-4-2, and instead of like nitpicking, like, hey, it could be 18-3 or 19-3-2. Why aren't we like 18-4-2 is great? They're also leading the league in points. They've won 4 in a row, 7-2-1. Why isn't it just like, hey, this is great. Let's try and keep the momentum up.
No, that's where I'm at, man. That's absolutely where I'm at. It's just being the best on March 4th is not the goal. You know what I mean? And like, they should be proud. Here we are. Like, let's hold the March 4th championship above our head, but it does nothing for March 5th.
Yeah.
And they have a game on March 5th. You know what I mean? So it's awesome. It's really good, but I'm just, I there's a cap on how excited I can be about being first place a third of the way through the season. I'm jacked. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but that needs to be said though. Like the other side of the, hey, it only matters in the playoffs, which is that's where I'm looking. I'm like, okay, the regular season doesn't even matter. Like, we're just going to get to game was it 56 or whatever?
It doesn't.
And then that, like, once we get to the extra games, that's what matters to me. But like, okay, we're in a great spot, and we should be jacked that we're going into the playoffs and everything with a really great team.
It's great.
If I may.
Sure.
The issue I have with that is the Leafs have sleptwalked their way through January and February like 3 years in a row. And now, obviously, January and February this year were the beginning of the season. But my worry with the Leafs, and again, Babs is not the coach anymore, but even with Keefe last year, it happened. The David Ayers game, a much more flawed team. I will grant you that for sure. TJ Brodie, if the cadre for TJ Brodie trade goes through last year, looks a lot better, right?
I was thinking about the butterfly effect of that, because if he's a Leaf last year, I wonder if the dollar amount goes up and they can't sign him for $5 million per. And maybe it was a blessing in disguise. God, the butterfly effect of cadre at the beginning and end of his Leafs tenure. I could write a book on that. Sorry, Adam, continue.
Well, and I think TJ Brodie, because the Flames underperformed and also the pandemic, the value was suppressed a little bit. I think he's worth more than he's getting paid, especially with what he's brought to Toronto. He's been incredible. But I think what it is, Jesse, and I think you're absolutely right. I'm really enjoying this. We should start every segment with this is super great.
That went unsaid. In that whole conversation, neither of you said, "Hey, this is great that the team is leading the league." I feel like that should be said a little bit more.
It's the best.
It is great.
Okay.
It goes back to my question. So what? They beat the Oilers 3 games in a row. So what? Where does that leave them? And to me, I hearken back to the Sens game and the Habs games, the 2 games this year that could have put them at 20 wins already. That is my bar for success for this team. It's not about
you want to take away half of their losses.
I still want to take. They still stick in my craw. I still fucking hate
half of their losses this season.
Yes,
unacceptable.
I want them back.
Oh God,
man! I want this team to turn the league on easy and ride it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals and finally win that fucking championship we've been waiting for forever. And by the way, the regular season does matter to me because the President's Trophy exists, isn't it? The President's Trophy, whatever the hell that trophy is. I don't think they've ever won it.
No.
And if they have, it certainly hasn't happened post-1967, post-expansion. So I want that shit too. And I think, to me personally, it's just like, you know what? This team has it all to go for the championship. I understand that Tampa's going to get Kucherov back once the playoffs start, and Boston and Washington and all these teams that have won and gone to the finals, whatever. That's all noise at this point. As Steve said, the only teams that they can play are the teams that are on the schedule. So I want them to kick ass all the way and walk into the playoffs like a robot and go, this is how we dismantle each and every single team all the way up to the Stanley Cup Finals and make it happen. So for me, the bar is being the best and not being the best by a little, being the best by a whole lot. That's why I feel that way, but I'm enjoying the hell out of this. I just don't think, I know as a Leaf fan, you get super pumped about, we just destroyed the Oilers 3 games in a row. How fucking awesome is that? It's great. You just held Connor McDavid off the score sheet. Leon Draisaitl had an assist in 180 minutes of hockey. That's incredible. But beyond last night, it doesn't really matter. As you said, they're going to the playoffs.
I think for our own purposes, saying the best team is the best is boring. Because
they are the best.
They are the best currently.
But I want that fucking President's Trophy, and then I want the Stanley Cup. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I want the March 4th banner. I want that. So
the March 4th Cup.
So to me, saying the best team is the best is kind of boring. You guys like the Batman movies?
Sure.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them, not all of them.
The last one was terrible. The last one was just terrible. No one talks about that enough.
Well, you know what was really terrible, Adam? The Batman where he doesn't fight any villains. He just kind of goes to the store and walks around in his robe.
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is the Leafs need a Joker. The Leafs need someone to stand in their way. That is the one thing this season has sort of been missing that I need them to overcome. Can
I tell you who that is?
Who is it?
Themselves and their history and their fan base and everything they've put on them. That's what they're fighting. Because that's the only thing that kind of matters to Leafs fan is the Leafsness in their head. So I think like it's not going to be an opponent. It's them getting over two guys on a podcast being like, if you ever lose a game, I'm going to be scared about this team. And I'm going to think 4-1 is going to happen every single playoffs.
Yo, can you blame us though? Look at what we've seen.
That's what
I think lived through.
I think that's a really good point. Like that's the demon, Steve. It's themselves. It's the Leafs. It's the franchise history. It's this cursed Leafs team is what they're trying to fight back. That's their Joker.
Batman is haunted by his past. That's wow. Damn. That's wow. Huh. I was going to go other places, but that was some real shit.
Yeah. And also, if all else fails them, the Bruins or Lightning will probably be in the conference finals waiting. And if the Leafs get through, I mean, come on. We haven't even seen a playoff round win yet from this group of
Mecca
guys.
Joker. I can't wait for the Leafs to somehow play Tampa and Boston in the third round and fourth round, beat them both, win the cup, and people go, yeah, but it didn't count. After 5 months of being like, no, but they got to beat Tampa and Boston.
I'm worried about that too. If the Leafs win like 2 rounds here, and people are like, well, asterisks.
I am not worried about anyone's fucking opinion if they win. I do not give a shit.
All the Leafs, they won. Names on the cup, don't give a fuck. Okay?
Sorry, I couldn't read your cool tweet. My phone was off at the parade. Shut up. Shut up.
Hey, that's if we get enough vaccines in time. In time.
I don't think it's going to matter if the Leafs win.
No, I think if the Leafs win, there's going to be a parade no matter what, whether the Leafs put it on or not. Toronto's backups last year, this is from Elliot Friedman, 31 Thoughts, were 7-12-2. They are 6-1 this year.
Okay. So, were you going to ask a question there, Adam?
I was just pointing it out.
You're just pointing it out.
I figured you might want to say something.
I do. So we criticized Babcock for putting Hutchinson in a position to fail last year, and it was warranted. He deserved it. Mm-hmm. However, the Leafs' schedule for a few years now has been asinine. They are always top 5 in the league in back-to-backs. They had a ridiculous amount of back-to-backs with travel. So you play a team, go to another city, play the next night. And you're playing Hutchinson, who's not one of the league's better backups, and you don't have one of the league's better defenses. And you like it exposes a flawed team very easily. But the fact of the matter is the Leafs were at a disadvantage a ridiculous amount of the time. I want to say it was 9 times last year they were scheduled to be the tired team playing a rested one. You know what I mean? And this year, even though it's a condensed schedule and it's generally difficult, the amount of back-to-backs they have is pretty run-of-the-mill, and the amount of times it's against a team that is not also playing back-to-back is very minimal too. Like they had, I can't remember who it was against, but they had 2 games in 2 nights against the same team. Right. So I think last year's team, despite being flawed and despite X and Y and Z, now they don't have to put up with at least that anymore.
Well, and to that fact, a lot of people, I've seen people say, okay, I'm done with the North Division. Now I'm bored. And that's fine. Whatever. Like
it's the prerogative, man. You don't, no one's forcing you to enjoy the team you cheer for being in first.
Right. And that's, if you're bored, whatever. I think it's been great. And I think you keep this alignment. The NHL won't. I think you keep this alignment, but allow for games outside of the division. I really like the baseball approach of 2 or 3 game sets. But one of the things too with this scheduling is, why does a team need to play another team on a back-to-back? Why can't you just have the teams play back-to-back nights, even if it's a home and home? Like if Toronto and Montreal are going to play a back-to-back, they should just play the back-to-back. It shouldn't be Toronto plays Detroit and then Montreal the next night. Why? Like, why would we do that?
I don't know. I don't want the schedule maker's job.
No.
Sorry.
Well, for scheduling reasons, it doesn't make sense anymore. We've seen that there can be a better way. And, forget the East where you're a bus ride away. Let's not go at the West where you're 3-hour plane ride literally everywhere, except for within California. I think frankly, in the future, I want to see, I would rather see two tired teams go head to head than one team that's just like, I haven't played in 4 nights. And then the other team's like, I've just played, 3 games in 4 nights. Like what kind of game are we watching at that point? Right. It's sort of, to me, it's like, if in the interest of fairness for anybody, who could be against that?
Well, then it waters down the product. Like, I want to see players going full tilt. I want to see one of the most fascinating and entertaining parts of last night's game was a play in which nothing actually really happened. It was a foot race between Mikheyev and McDavid.
Who won?
Mikheyev.
The guy whose name starts with Mick.
But also, how long was McDavid on the ice for?
Yeah.
That I don't know. And also, like, Mikheyev he had a step.
No, he's faster.
But come on, everybody chill.
He's faster. He's faster, guys.
Twitter took that and ran with it yesterday.
Well, and they should. It's funny, but nobody in their right mind actually thinks Mikheyev is a better player or faster than McDavid. It's just like one time.
It's a lot of fun, though. I like that, and it's. I wish the logistics were easier. In that, you know how you don't have to be a star player to be in the slam dunk competition. For fastest skater, I want it to be fastest skater. Like, I want the players who we think are the fastest to be competing, not the fastest player who's at the All-Star game competition. That name is a mouthful and not as fun. I'm not interested in the fastest skater at the All-Star game. I am interested in the fastest skater. That's what I want. I don't want to know who the fastest man in this is or that. I want to know the fastest man in the world. That's what we all watch in the Olympics.
The NHL does it backwards in that they limit the skills and the other competition, the Saturday night festivities to the guys who are in the All-Star game. Where the NBA, they just said, hey, anybody can compete in anything. It's All-Star weekend. Everybody's allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the whole point is high skill. Whereas the NHL likes to go, nah, we won't. And it's probably because they don't want to pay for the plane ticket, to be honest with you. Like it's or the hotel. I mean, they could barely get their stars to show up anyway, and they have to suspend them every time they don't. It's the All-Star thing is just ridiculous. It makes me mad. But
he's going to be like 4 goals shy of Gretzky's record, and it's going to be like, man, if only he didn't sit out those All-Star games.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's true. I don't know. You're absolutely right, guys. I think I would just like to know the fastest player. I would just like to know for fun. Now, I do want to quickly mention before we move on here that the Leafs' defense has really improved. And if you want sort of a breakdown of that, and I was going to go deeper, but I don't think we've got time. James Merle kind of did a bit of an article on how they've improved, and it's funny. There was a book about the British cycling team, like for Tour de France. And and the Olympic team or whatever. And they had this coach, and his essential philosophy was you have to improve 1% in everything that you do. That's it. Just improve 1%. So if you make a coffee, make it 1% better than it was before. If you are like, seriously, it's like little minute micro gains is what they call them. And you slowly get better and better. And when you look at the percentages that the Leafs defense has improved, it's 0.5% here. Like when we talk about, unblocked high danger shots, we talk about high danger scoring chances, things like that. They're improving a percentage or two, maybe at the max. But when you look at the ranking of where they are, they go from like 18th to 10th place. So the Leafs defense, for the first time since we've watched, even in the Cujo Ed Belfour era, it was terrible. And those goalies, they had to ride those goalies all the way. This is a team that's right on the fringe of the top 10 in the NHL, the top third in defense right now. That's incredible considering how offensive this division is.
You know what's hurting Freddie's stock in this market? He's not being forced to save the Leafs' ass every single night. And the reason his stock started to fall is he stopped doing it. Previously, like I'm talking about last season. And it's like, well, the dam was going to break eventually. For 3 years, the team said, hey, can you do everything? And he's like, I'll try. And, his groin starts exploding, knee or whatever. Tom Sestito beans him in the brain. And he's like, guys, I'm trying. I'm really trying, but you keep leaving me alone with 3 Bruins in front every playoff, and I'm trying. And then he started to falter. And after 3 years of being a monster, we said, you're a bum piece of shit. Get out of this market right now. We want the guy who's never been a starter, please. We want the Jack Campbell guy who he makes funny comments on Instagram. You know, like, I love Jack Campbell, but like this has been a problem with this fan base, and I'm sure lots of fan bases are similar. Do not use one good player to insult another. There's no need to use Jack Campbell, the nicest boy in the world, Mr. Care Bear, to insult Frederick Anderson. But anyway, this is an entirely different tangent.
You're ignoring some pretty key moments where he melted down, Steve.
Yes, I am. But this season in particular, he hasn't been forced to be the sole purpose they're winning games.
Sure. I agree with that completely. It's nice.
It is. It's pretty great. Like, how many games has a goalie stolen for Leafs this year?
Freddie's stolen a couple. There have been a few, I can't even remember the last time. But there was one glove save that was like, holy shit, that was unbelievable.
Each goalie has at least one. Each goalie has at least one save where you go, holy shit, that was special. What you did. Even Hutch, that save on Cahoon, that was good shit.
Sure was.
I really like that.
Also, I love Hutch's masks, by the way. They're just the Potvin mask, the Wayne Thomas mask. Like, come on. So cool.
Give me that. Give me that. Please wear it and win against Vancouver. Let them know that we own Felix Potvin and not them. It bothers me that Felix Potvin was a Canuck or anything other than a Leaf because he's mine. Felix is mine.
But they traded him to the Islanders for like an amazing defenseman. Like, that was a win for the Leafs.
So
they won that trade.
So I was mad about it. I was mad twice as a kid. I wanted to see Felix Potvin, and I showed up to the game, and he wasn't the starter.
My favorite Felix Potvin era was Boston.
Why? How dare you?
Wasn't because Felix Potvin was a Boston Bruin. That's got to be salt in your wound.
It is, and he was backing up friggin' Andrew Raycroft, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Who's an analyst now, by the way, calling Tuukka Rask games. That's cool.
Who, from what I understand, is not a big Leaf fan.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't be.
I believe it. Wasn't he on the Canucks? I want to say he was backing up in a game in Toronto. The Canucks came back and won, and he was taunting the crowd. And I think it was a hockey night game too. God damn it.
Steve, you would be the only person in the world to remember that.
I'd look it up. Look it up.
Steve,
why can't you just enjoy it? Well, because I've been eating shit my entire life. Like, what do you think? What do you think? That's why I can't enjoy it.
Sounds like you can't make LFRs.
It's wow. No, I can't.
I can't get started. The game's over, but I'm afraid they're going to blow it anyway.
I can't make the video. They might blow it still.
What do they do?
You know what? One day I would really like, when we're a gigantic media entity, this thing that we have, this SDPN that we have. I would love for somebody to go back and supercut all the heartbreak moments from Steve Dangle's LFRs. Like, and imagine how long that video would be. It'd be like hours long of heartbreak. And I'm talking like 10-second clips from each, just Steve's face and the dejection and the yelling and the sad and the yelling and the sad and the sad and the sad and the yelling and the maybe next year.
Everybody hurt.
Like, that's got to happen. Like, when the Leafs were bad, that was happening. It was probably happening 5-6 times a season. When the Leafs became good again, it probably happened more like 20. Because then they actually had something to play for, right? They were actually good.
Absolutely.
And there were some there were moments when we used to be able to get together in a studio where Jesse and I would walk in and we'd be fine and be after at least lost. And Steve would walk in still pissed from the night before, like super mad. And I one day I want to be able to watch that because I think that video would do huge numbers on YouTube, Steve.
Well, and so you just reminded me of something I was going to bring up earlier. So I was watching a great YouTube video yesterday. Great YouTube video. It was called Screw You Too. And it was an episode of the Steve Dangle Podcast that we did in February of last year when the Leafs lost to the Carolina Hurricanes and David Ayres.
Oh.
And one thing, I think Jesse brought it up, that we talked about like the Leafs can run the table for the rest of the season. They can win 20 straight games. And they literally cannot make anything up to this fan base until the playoffs. Uh-huh. And the conversation we had was, is that fair? And the answer that we came up with was absolutely. They put themselves in that position last night and for the past forever. So if you're looking at, I don't give a shit what fans outside of the market thinks. Like in about the Leafs and is their first place spot legitimate? Even to Leaf fans, it's still going to be the March 4th banner if they don't win in the playoffs. But you can't do anything for several months other than prepare yourself for the playoffs. And it's hard to feel bad for them because they put themselves in that position.
But you might as well be happy that the team is winning.
I am.
They are doing that.
I am. But you're asking me to be happier than I am.
Before we move on.
I'm just happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm content. I would say I'm content. Hey, fellas, we're in the thick of winter and a storm's brewing. It looks like 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast when you trim that hibernation bush that's taking place in your pants. Seriously. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped specialize in products to make sure you're walking around town with those beautiful snowballs. Manscaped is here to provide the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. We're talking about the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, which is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Because of their ceramic blade and advanced skin-safe technology, your snags on the snowballs will be reduced. The trimmer is also waterproof, so you can trim in the shower. It's a lot easier, right? Manscaped Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The package comes with a new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker, ear and nose trimmer, performance boxer briefs, which I have and I'm wearing, and they're comfortable, and a travel bag to put it all in. You don't have to put your underwear in, though. That's okay. 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. All you have to do is use the code DANGLE, DANGLE. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code DANGLE. Thanks, Manscaped, for making our winter wieners look so good. Jason Spezza moved into, I think, 102nd place all-time in NHL scoring. Pretty incredible. Like that's considering how many people have played at the NHL level. If you draft a guy and he's a first overall pick or a second overall, I think Jason was second, right?
Second.
So if you're a second overall guy and you could tell you 20 years down the road, this guy's going to be top 100 in NHL scoring eventually, ever. You take that pick every time. That is a dynamite top pick every time you take that pick, because basically there's one a year. There's been 102 NHL seasons. Jason Spezza is 102nd, or is 103 NHL seasons now. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Pandemic's totally screwed me up.
I want to look
Probably
at the
103.
names.
But that the number 100 is static in terms of the top 100 scores. So.
Yes. So it becomes even more rare. And I think he deserves a shout out for that. I love the fact that last night, not only did he get 4 points over the course of 3 games, but he's looking for Jimmy Vesey so Jimmy Vesey can get his hat trick, which I think was amazing. He's laughing with Zach Hyman, scores on Mike Smith after Mike Smith is like pushing him and punching him with the glove and everything like that. Jason Spezza, and I tweeted this last night, is losing Mike Babcock his next job. How do you as an NHL team go, okay, so you coached the Leafs, you had some success, great. Look at Matthews, look at Marner, great. Okay, but we can agree that those players were probably going to be great anyway. Okay, yeah, they're probably going to be great. You know, Mike, maybe we'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that. Can you explain to me why you weren't going to play Jason Spezza at all? Why Justin Hall never saw any ice time, given the way he's played? Why you complained when Jake Muzzin was brought to town because his handedness wasn't exactly what you needed at the time because that wasn't available. I like this. The Leafs being this good is every single time they win another game. Every single time they get closer to, they're the top team in the NHL. If they win that President's Trophy, if they win the Stanley Cup, it's clear they already made the right choice. But if you're a team that's looking to hire Mike Babcock and you know this, how do you get by that? Like, that is glaring. I know every coach has their blind spots, but that's crazy. Like, you need, especially if you're a smaller market than Toronto, which besides New York, every market is in terms of how big the franchise is. New York's number 1, Toronto's number 2. If you're a team that needs to save money around the corners, who doesn't? It's a pandemic. And you need to find value-added players, Mike's not your guy.
Brian Burke mentioned during his little press tour when he signed with the Penguins, I think they were talking about, maybe it wasn't Burke who mentioned it, it was Friedge. Anyway, they were talking about the health of the Flyers organization, and that being the bar for Ron Hextall. You know what I mean? How is the organization now that he's gone? And
Pretty
that's
good.
how you judge who a good GM is. Now, for coaches, I'm trying to think of the coaches who got fired and then the team went on to immediately win the cup. And I'm trying to think of where they are now. There was Michel Therrien. He gets fired. Pittsburgh
Mike
goes on
Johnson in Pittsburgh.
to win the cup. Yeah, okay, so where's Michel Therrien right now? I know he got a job after that, but where is he right now? Where's Mike Johnson from Pittsburgh? Where is he right now? I'm trying to even remember the guy's name.
Mike
Yeo?
Mike Yeo.
Mike Yeo.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember his name.
Assisted in Minnesota, I believe.
Okay, cool. He was head coach of the Blues. And then Craig Berube, who I'm pretty sure didn't have any head coaching experience at the NHL level, comes in and wins the cup with the Blues. So where's Mike Yeo? The answer is an assistant, right? So if you get fired from a team and then they go on to be awesome, it matters. So what Adam is saying, I think is, perhaps based in pettiness. However, it's also a little bit based in truth. It's a little bit based in truth. It needs to be taken into consideration that this team is doing way better without him. That amongst a pile of other things.
Right. Yes, absolutely. That's just from a purely hockey perspective. Okay. So I want to move on here because Montreal fired their goalie coach this year because you can't fire a $10.5 million contract. You can fire a goalie coach. You can't fire the $10.5 million contract. Apparently it came down to Carey Price and this guy locking horns. And it just wasn't working anymore.
Where'd that come from?
There's some rumors around Twitter. I don't fully know, but Stefan Waite, who I believe was a backup in the NHL at one point as well, goaltending coach for the Montreal Canadiens, has been replaced. And when we talk about coaches getting fired, we're just talking about coaches, Steve. Did he get fired because Carey Price is just getting older?
Well, it's even more complicated than that, Adam. He got fired mid-game during a 3-1 win.
according to Mark Bergevin.
I believe him.
Yeah.
Why would someone lie about that?
No, I just mean like it came from the horse's mouth. Like,
right.
rumors. Yeah. This is according to the guy who was in charge of firing him. He said, "Hey, I fired him in the middle of a game.
I fired him in the middle of a game where the goalie was doing great. Our $10.5 million goalie was going great. And then he goes, but there wasn't like a fight or anything. And then someone goes, there wasn't a fight or anything shirt is raising a lot of questions that are already answered by the shirt. And why? And why is this the Habs brand now? Because you know what was trending on Twitter after this was announced? Camilleri. Mm-hmm. It was trending on Twitter in Canada. Why? Because the Habs traded Mike Camilleri in the middle of a game. They took him off the bench because they're like, actually, you're a Flame now. Goodbye, Mike. Have fun with that. Never a dull moment in Montreal. Every member of the hockey media should say, God bless the Montreal Canadiens, because win or lose, they are always, always fun. And I don't know if it's Carey Price's ability that got him fired. I'm thinking it's the fight that definitely happened.
Interesting.
I
think it's Carey Price's ability that put him on the hot seat.
Oh, for sure. For sure. If he's a 18 and up, 9-15 and up.
Not a conversation.
Probably not even having the conversation. I don't know. All goalies are very particular about their guys, though, and goalies are superstitious to begin with, so it doesn't surprise me that it's this guy's fault that I didn't get there on time, or that my skate caught an edge, or I don't know. Listen, but if you have that much money invested in Carey Price,
you have to make it work.
You have to make it work. You got to put him in his happy place.
Right. They better get there soon. Jake Allen starts tonight, by the way.
And maybe he should.
I want to talk about, too, with coaching, because Jarmo Kekalainen is now looking for a center for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Beginning last offseason, he was negotiating a extension for a center that he already had and drafted. And then all of a sudden that center didn't want to be there anymore. And at a certain point, we need to figure out, if I'm Jarmo Kekalainen, I need to know why Pierre-Luc Dubois left. I need to know why Pierre-Luc Dubois left. They're all being quiet and cagey about this, and apparently hasn't told anyone. But there is something up with that. You cannot have, because now he's got to go find another one. Like, yeah, you got Patrick Laine. That's cool. Hasn't helped. So when you got to go and get this number one center that they supposedly want, I don't know how you're going to get, like, if you want to get it like a Jack Eichel, you're going to have to wait till the offseason, and you're going to have to try to outbid the Rangers. Good luck.
How are you going to get, yeah, can you,
like when we're talking about legit number one centers, of which there's maybe 15, 20, right? There might
be
15.
Think he doesn't know? Or that the media and like the public just doesn't know?
I wanted to ask the question. What are the chances he doesn't know? And if he does, what's he going to do about it?
Because he doesn't know what? Sorry.
Well, why Pierre-Luc Dubois left.
Right. Okay. That's what.
And then I'm before I turn it over to you guys, I'm gonna say this as well. Pierre LeBrun mentioned in his column that Torts' deal is up at the end of the season. He's making about $2.5 million right now. He should be, based on his record, probably in the $4 million range. And it doesn't look as though he's all that interested, or at least all that in a rush to sign his extension with Columbus, meaning he may also want out. Kekalainen has said, Torts is our guy, publicly, privately. That is going to be Columbus's coach for the end of the season. But I'm wondering if there's a tie-in here. And I'm wondering if at a certain point, the Columbus Blue Jackets and Jarmo Kekalainen specifically need to have a good hard look at what happened this year, because they had a 22 or 23-year-old stud who just didn't want to play for them anymore. What happened? And now they got a coach, because if you let him go because of the coach is probably going to go, or maybe go. You lose them both?
Also, he's a coach. I don't care if he's the best one. He's a coach. They come and go.
Yeah.
All the time. Number one centers are really hard to find. I would say this, having seen what happened with Marner in Toronto, one of the Blue Jackets or Dubois, I think, would be wise to plan on when it'd be good for them to get it out there, what happened, and then get it out there, because at least then you control it. Mm-hmm. You know, the one unfortunate thing for Mitch Marner, well, actually not one, but one of the many unfortunate things for Mitch Marner during the whole Babcock getting fired saga is that thing was a time bomb that went off several years later, right? And he didn't get to control it. And I don't think that was fun for him. You know what I mean? That getting out there, and it was a conversation that needed to happen in the hockey community, but not being able to control it must have been a shitty feeling. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe we'll just never know. But if one person knows, I guarantee you it's going to eventually get out there, and then you won't have any control. So I don't know who's in the wrong or the right or whatever the story is, but one of Dubois or the Blue Jackets might want to get it out there and just pick the right time.
You talk about sometimes coaches have a shelf life. Do you think maybe John Tortorella has looked at this and going, my shelf life is done? Like, I'm done here.
That's possible. He's matured as a coach in Columbus. He has.
That's a ridiculous thing to say about a grown-ass man.
In his 50s or whatever. No, it is.
Yeah.
But it's true. It is
This is a
true.
guy, he set the bar kind of low.
Matured
He's
is the
trying to
word.
attack another coach. And then told his players that he didn't want hip-hop playing before the games. Like, this is
I forgot about that.
Remember?
Me too. I forgot.
I know, only Van Halen. Like, come on, man. Like, really. This is not your generation, John. So the maturity level thing, that needed to happen.
Yes.
I hope everyone is maturing every day and improving on themselves.
By 1%.
By 1% at least.
There you go.
Including John Tortorella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I do agree. Like, it does. Listen, he gets in there. He usually joins a team. The fire burns hot and it lasts for 3 years. And then that's about it. That's about it. I mean, the Columbus Blue Jackets are probably better for having him be their coach, except for that whole losing your number one center thing. But no, it had nothing to do with Torts until we find out at some random date, who knows when, that it was. Yeah.
At that point, I'm firing the coach. If it's Pierre-Luc Dubois or John Tortorella on the end of his deal, I know what I'm doing.
See, Tortorella makes a lot of money, and I'm wondering if the Blue Jackets can afford to pay John Tortorella to not coach for them.
Can they afford Pierre-Luc Dubois not being there? And the cost it's going to take to replace him?
I think that's the much more expensive problem.
Because I think that's what they did. They just created an expensive problem. Pierre-Luc Dubois probably could have been re-signed for, I don't know, 7 or 8 million, something like that. But
I don't know. He was signed. He's under contract right now that he signed with the Blue Jackets. It's that he wanted to go. Here we are. Like, at any conversation about the Blue Jackets, if you talk for long enough, this will come up and it'll come to the same dead end and someone's going to find it.
Something's happened though, right? Are we agreed on that? There's smoke here?
Yes. Who the hell just goes, nah, I don't want to, after signing a deal and buying a house?
All right.
Like, no one just goes, fuck this. Maybe they do. Maybe he's just that different of a cat. Maybe Dubois is everything we've said that Laine is. And he just went, I don't feel like it today. The house doesn't match my shoes. And I don't know. Maybe he just had a weird breakfast one morning and had an epiphany. It's probably not what happened, though.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to move on to the Minnesota Wild here, who we never talk about.
Sorry.
We had that one Chuck Fletcher rant, and then that was it. Let me ask you something. You're a head coach. You scratch the captain and probably the highest paid player on the team. Are you long for this team? Are things going well?
Speaking of never talking about the Minnesota Wild, they scratched Ryan Suter?
Sorry, Zach Parise. He's the assistant captain. My bad. I forgot Suter was the captain. Now, there was a
contract here. Let's play a game called Steve Brings Up That Contract Again.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to do this. Parise skated with the taxi squad following the rest of his teammates leaving the ice. Coach Dean Evison wouldn't go into the details as to why Parise was being sat, only to say that the decision was made as a staff. This is from The Athletic. But a disappointed Parise confirmed he was told during a meeting on Tuesday because of his final shift in the previous game. I guess they were playing the Golden Knights, and he didn't go for a line change on his final shift, and he ended up logging 1:33 on the shift and played a part in deflecting Max Pacioretty's cross-lot pass to Mark Stone. Mark Stone ended the game, and he said, we were out there for a little bit. I made the decision to try to help. They ended up getting the puck. I saw Foligno trying to change on the back check. I didn't think it'd be a good idea for me to change too, so I stayed out there. And unfortunately, it was, I guess, the ultimate backfire as they ended up tying the game. Now, he was scratched for last night's game, which was the second game in a row against the Vegas Golden Knights.
All right.
And it didn't help because Vegas won 5-1 anyway. What?
The one thing that cures everything is winning. And the Wild have won. They've gotten 13 of their last 16 available points. That's 6-1-1 in their last 8 games. And if they could continue to play well above expectations, scratch whoever you want. We went 6-1-1.
Yes, I do wonder what it does to a team when, like, Zach Parise, like, he was scratched for that. Like, was that the only thing? Because he's got 9 points. He's got 9 points in 19 games. That's roughly half a point a game player. That's a useful player. 1,034 games played and 800 points, 801 points. And you're scratching him because, like, he
stayed on for a minute 33.
Judgment call?
Yeah, he's not new.
And also minute 33 for a star, well, not a star player anymore, but a minute 33 isn't unheard of.
He's good. The difference is he's got more than, Jason Spezza is roughly half a point a game player, at least over his tenure as a Leaf. The difference is Parise makes more than 10 times more against the cap. Here's the contract there, kids. $7.538. Here, I'll just say it. $7,538,461 against the cap this season and the next and the next and the next and the next. He's not going to end his career as a Minnesota Wild, I don't think. He's making $8 million this year, 6 next, and then 2, 1, and 1. Why are those contracts illegal? That's why. Blame it on he's going there again. He's going there again. Blame it on the Minnesota Wild. It's Zach Parise and Ryan Suter. Yeah, that's another one of those situations where there has to be something else there, because that seems like a silly goose thing to scratch someone over.
We're not buying that reason, right?
No.
Yeah.
Can't be one shift, right?
Okay.
No.
The other thing is, this relationship between Parise and the Wild seems to have been fraying for 2-3 years. I mean, this is his hometown that he's playing, and they weren't the Wild when he was growing up. But this is his home team.
Well, and I do remember something from a life in my past when I was able to see people. I remember there was a hot rumor on the day of the 2020 trade deadline.
Oh God.
Just before shit hit the fan. And right after the Leafs lost to David Ayres. There was supposedly some sort of deal between the Wild and Islanders that was getting worked on that would see Parise become an Islander.
Would make sense.
Wild.
Interesting.
So I wonder if, I don't know how the hell you do it with God, that contract sucks. But maybe this is the beginning of the end for Parise as a member of the Wild. Maybe he's going somewhere else.
Well, maybe that was the beginning of the end, and the pandemic got in the way, and it's just extended things.
Yeah.
Sounds like that was, right?
That was such a weird, day to work. Because I do remember, oh man, I wonder how this pick is, was that a good move? And a second round pick, man, is that too much? And I'm sitting there anything might be too much. What? I don't know if we'll be here by the end of the season. Because there were whispers about what if it goes sideways, and then it went sideways in a day.
Remember when we did a show and the next day they canceled the game? And I remember saying it, or it was a week, I don't know, a couple days before or whatever. And it was I remember saying, one player gets this and the whole league could shut down, right? And people were in my DMs, you're fear mongering, you're panic mongering, don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And look at what's happened. It's crazy the amount of things that were issues then that are still issues now, but have been put off for 12 whole months, like a Zach Parise situation. I have a feeling that would have been solved if there's no pandemic. They would have moved him. Even if they had to hold back half of his deal, there would have been something.
Like in the offseason, maybe?
Yeah. But you can't now. I don't know what the Wild do, because they can't buy him out because it's a backdiving deal. So it's aren't they buyout proof, those deals? There's some sort of weird thing with them.
Well, he's got a no move, but it's already moved once. Oh, wait, no, it didn't.
No.
He was on the Devils and then signed with the Wild. He's got a no move, but if he wants to play hockey and the Minnesota Wild say you can't do it here, I'm sure that would facilitate a move. And I think actually for a certain team in a certain financial position, I think he might have a coveted deal Maybe not next year with the $6 million price tag, but once he's only making $2 and $1 million, which by that point will be his market value, if that.
Is he going to play at that point?
Well,
like he just made.
That's a very good question.
$100 million. Does he care about the last three?
Oh, Adam, it's only 98. Well, that's why these contracts are illegal. That's why they are illegal. Gosh darn it.
Lastly, I want to mention this before we get into the press conference. We're going to start a little bit early today because we haven't had a lot of time for press conferences lately, and I think it's important that we do.
A lot of questions.
Backlog of questions. Okay, so what I do want to say is this: it looks like it's shaping up like because we can now start to talk about the trade deadline a little bit more. That most of the teams that have cap space available, prospects available, look like they're going to the playoffs or might be on the fringe of going to the playoffs, do not have the green light to spend at the deadline. Owners are saying to GMs, this is your team. Like it or lump it, it's your team. We're not adding salary. We're not trading salary. We're not doing anything. Everything stays the way it is, except for certain other teams. Teams like the Leafs. What this means is there's going to be a buyer's market, which we never see in trade deadline day. There'll be a lot of teams looking to sell because everybody wants to shed cash. Everybody wants to not spend as much money. And I can tell you that a GM that can shed cash on deadline day and shed actual real dollars to a team that's got more money is going to look awful good to their ownership. It's going to look really good, especially in a pandemic situation. You know, there was talk yesterday that like the Oilers might lose $50 or $60 million this year, right? This is how bad these losses are. The Oilers, hockey mad market, $50 to $60 million. That's an insane amount of money. There's a couple of teams that can buy. The Leafs are one of them. But those prices might be basement prices. If there was ever a year to go for it, it seems like this might be it.
And so, Jesse, for my lack of optimism from earlier about this first place teim.
Don't forget laziness.
Now I hear. Shut up.
I can tell Steve's not in the mood to be bullied today. So I'm going to turn the knife even more.
Good. I like that.
So, to go with what Jesse was saying earlier, Adam brings that up, and he's absolutely right about the buyer's market, and this is a wonderful year to go for it if you're a team like, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why? They're perfect the way they are. I mean, like, I'm worried about, like, people are talking about, like, yeah, go out and get Taylor Hall. And put him where? You're going to sell the farm for Taylor Hall, who's got one goal this season, to replace Kerfoot.
Also, you don't need to sell the farm to get Taylor Hall. That's my point.
You also don't need him.
You don't. I don't think Taylor Hall is the guy anyway.
I don't think he's the guy. I'm not sure who the guy is exactly. The only thing I look at on this team where I go, no, we need to fix that. It might be nice to have another guy who can play third line center.
That's what I'm thinking too. Also, does it hurt you if you can cheaply to go out and buy another top four defenseman? Not because the top four aren't great, and not because the bottom two haven't been great, but honestly, we saw what happened when Muzzin went down, and we saw what happened when Muzzin went down again. And, as we've said, the playoffs are not the regular season. You need that. I think if it's a buyer's market and you can buy at cut rate prices, I think you go out and you do both. You gotta get, why not? Why the hell not? Just go.
Why not?
Why not?
It is. Oh boy. It's such a difficult conversation.
You want to buy a player with an expiring deal, or maybe you don't. Because somebody's going to get claimed in the expansion draft. So you don't want to go spend a pile of picks and pull the Edmonton. We're not going to re-sign to Tennessee after spending two second rounders on it.
And Seattle screws everything up.
Yeah, that's one thing that's very interesting is who goes out and gets a guy who's clearly just a filler for their expansion guy that they're going to lose.
Right.
That'll be interesting.
Very, very, very interesting. So anyway, let's get into the press conference because we got some time. With the NBA season in full swing, baseball getting underway, and the NCAA tourney and the Masters right around the corner, the sports calendar is officially heating up. And that means now is the perfect time to take your sports fan couch experience to the next level by getting in on the action yourself. The Athletic has partnered with BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, to bring you the latest odds and exclusive offers to bring you closer to the game than ever. Subscribers of The Athletic get in-depth analysis from our newsroom, plus insight into the latest betting trends and odds from BetMGM's team of sports experts, getting you all the context you need to nail that next pick or parlay. And right now, BetMGM is offering listeners of the Steve Dangle Podcast a risk-free first bet up to $600. You just sign up at BetMGM.com and use the bonus code TheAthleticPod to take advantage of this special offer from the king of sportsbooks. The offer is for new customers. That's a risk-free first bet up to $600 at BetMGM.com with the bonus code TheAthleticPod. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Cue the disclaimer.
Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In Tennessee, call or text the red line at 800-889-9789. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.
So the first question comes from the Toronto Six. Toronto Six tweeted us, and they want to know, who is your favorite player on the team based off of vibes alone?
Ooh, based off of vibes.
Can I go first?
Yes.
Lindsay Eastwood, first goal scorer in franchise history. Love you, Lindsay Eastwood. That's going to be my pick.
First goal scorer.
That's a good vibe. That's a vibe. Like, come on.
Historic vibe. Of course, you, Adam, of Adam's History Corner fame, will go with historic vibes.
Ah, yes. Well, it's like, at the TFC games, Danny Dichio, at every time they hit 24 minutes, they sing the Danny Dichio song because that's the guy that scored. And he's now like a color commentator and stuff like that. He's made a whole career out of scoring that one goal.
So what do they do? I don't remember when Lindsay Eastwood scored. I know it was in the first period of a game, or she wears number 44. So is it the 44th minute of every game? Like, I don't know. Do they have to?
It would be good.
He's getting a recording of me going.
That's what they should play for sure.
Play it in the building.
just this low hum of Steve's voice.
No.
What about you, Steve? What's yours?
We don't do any of that. Well, fellas, we all know what I'm about, and that's best. Best. And their best player, and they give off the vibe of a best player, is Michaela Grant-Mentis, leading the team in scoring. 9 points in 6 games. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a ton. Leading goal scorer with 5, leading in points with 9, tied for the lead in shots with 28. Plus minus is real to me, damn it, and she's a +8. Just a great player, a star for that team. And in terms of, I know what you're going for with the question with vibes. It's a team vibe.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me to pick like a favorite dancer from the dance videos, or who is the best with the weird little doll hands. You can't ask me that. So I just go by best, and for me, it's Grant-Mentis.
And Jesse, what about you?
Oh, can I just pick digit?
Yes.
Like I don't. Yeah. I'm gonna pick the head coach.
I mean, if you're gonna go with vibes, yes.
Best overall vibes.
She's the vibe setter for that team. There's no question,
right?
Because she goes in a rant. She does her little Digit Murphy thing, and then she gets a little closer to the mic. And then do you find when we had her on, and then she goes like this, and I got closer to the screen because I'm like, tell me, Digit, like what's going on?
Close.
What is this? What is this? Spill the tea. I want to know. I want to know what's going on.
And then she drops some wisdom on you.
And then yeah. I like it.
All right.
I like it, and I like my team. Gosh darn it, they're my team.
So Rasha wants to know, because the fan base is confused.
Okay.
Is Jack Campbell Soup, or is Ilya Mikheyev's nickname Soup? What's going on here?
What's going on is hockey is great, but it's also awful.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both just soup. They're both soup. The Leafs had Andrew Campbell. He was the captain of the Toronto Marlies. You want to know what they called him?
Soup.
If your name is Campbell, you're soup. If you say you like soup, you're soup. They have worse nicknames than the Mafia. Oh, you see this guy eating meatballs? Jimmy Meatballs over here. And his name is Meatballs for the rest of his life. Ilya Mikheyev went, I like soup. And we went, you're soup now. And then they acquired a guy with the name of a soup brand. And they're like, you are also soup. What is he, Soup Remix? And he's borscht now? No, they are both just soup. I bet behind closed doors, the Leafs just call Ilya Mikheyev his full name to his face. Ilya Mikheyev, what would you like from A&W? Like that's what they do. That's what they do because it's just the meme now, but it's hockey nicknames. Good Lord.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
It's confusing too because the coach will call him that. It's like listening to Terry Crisp, who, by the way, several people from Nashville reached out and said, hey, yes, Terry Crisp is confusing even to us. You got to watch Terry Crisp segments, man. They're worth it. Worth every dollar.
I am so close. So
what?
Close. JC Lapon would be their closest option, and he's playing in Sweden right now. I need the Leafs to, at the trade deadline, go out and get someone with the last name Lipton. So they can have 3 soups.
All right. The unoriginality in hockey nicknames is very apparent. You know, it's
no kidding.
Not good.
If you have a short name, you lengthen it. If you have a long name, you shorten it. That's hockey. There you go.
That's it. The next question is not really a question. Nick says at the end of his tweet, he's just saying, but Sam Bennett is a healthy scratch tonight. Do you guys take anything away from that?
Yeah, it's not the playoffs. So, that's
he doesn't have to step up for Johnny Gaudreau. Right. I don't know, man. I think the thing is that they're not happy with Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett's not happy with them, and he consistently plays on the first line or is benched. I don't understand it, but that's what they're doing.
Also, they've been terrible.
Terrible.
Did you see the video of before the game where they got pumped by the Sens?
No, what's the video?
I've never seen a team that was so bad their warm-up sucked. The guys were falling over.
I saw that.
They were accidentally flipping pucks into each other's faces, and then one guy would fall and he'd fall into another guy who would fall. They looked like a mess. And people before the game, I made money off of that video. Because people were like, if you're into sports betting, maybe bet on the Sens tonight because the Flames warm-up was terrible. And I saw the video, and I put $5 down on the Sens to win, and they did.
Nice.
I should have put more. I wish I've only just started, but I should have put more because they looked horrible in the warm-up, and then they got pumped 5-1, I think it was. Something's wrong in Calgary, man.
No kidding. Holy.
Jake Muzzin ruined the team. They were fine. They were fine before that little episode, and they've never really recovered from it, even though they did beat the Leafs the one time.
Well, and Lucic was on, I think, is it 960 in Calgary? And he was talking about, he's like, we just want things to be too easy. Whenever players say that, I'm like, man, that doesn't sound like it. That sounds like there's something, they're in their own heads for sure. But, and the other thing, Tree Living, when he was on, they said, what are the plans for Sam Bennett? And they're like, we'll move Sam Bennett when we feel like it. And it's sort of like they're sending a message. And I just feel, to me anyway, this is a situation where it's like it's just one more thing that's distracting you. And frankly, Sam Bennett's value right now isn't good. You're not going to get much for him. It's not great. If you keep benching the guy, it's going to go down. Like what if Brad Tree Living is saying to Kyle Dubas, listen, I want to have legitimate assets back for Sam Bennett. If I'm Kyle Dubas, I'm like, no. For the guy you're not playing?
Yeah, no. Who knows? Maybe he's getting traded sooner rather than later. Also, I have a hard time believing the way attitudes seem to be in Calgary, he's the only guy who's asked out. He's just the only guy we know about.
Yeah. Yep. There's something weird. And there were some calls for Jeff Ward to be fired. I don't think that's going to be, I don't think he's the guy. I think they have a legitimate, they just don't have this team. This team doesn't have the X factor. We've seen it 3 years in a row now. Like it's like,
who was expecting this out of Calgary though? Not this. They've lacked an X factor, but
I thought they were a second or third place team.
Well,
with their talent, they should be.
They do have an X factor. They have Matthew Tkachuk. You have to keep your eye out for him every single time he's on the ice, because if he doesn't score, he's going to punch you in the head. And his team's response was to tell him to calm down. You need a rebuild there, or not a rebuild, but you need you got to change the flavor of the locker room for sure. It doesn't look like a fun place to play right now.
Certainly not. Next question, Jess.
Next question comes on that topic of rebuilding. I thought this was an interesting one from @Storytime Hockey. Based on how the Sabres and Oilers rebuilds have gone, can we be confident that we'll never see that type of teardown or full tank mode again? I'm going to add that we see the contrast of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who successfully did it.
But they didn't trade Van Riemsdyk, Bozak, Kadri, Riley. There was a bunch of guys on that bad last place team. And by the way, that was a historically good last place team.
Yes, it was.
And they did intentionally not play Nylander and Kapanen and all those guys, from the Marlies specifically so they could develop and so the Leafs could finish last. Even Babs confirmed it. We know that. But they did have they had a line of good players. And then the next year they got another line in Matthews, Nylander, and Marner and Hyman. So they had these young guys sort of come up with players who were already established guys that could get 60 or 70 points. In Bozak's case, 50, not bad. I think the thing with Buffalo and Edmonton that they have in common is both had disastrous general managers. I don't think it can be understated how bad Tim Murray did in running the Buffalo Sabres. Like, he set them back because they would do these weird things. Like, they would be like, okay, we're rebuilding, but Matt Molson's going to get a 7-year contract. They wouldn't pick. No, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing is that, like, he didn't look at players. I think Tim Murray didn't look at players who drove play. They kept ending up with guys like, and I know, with no offense to Kyle Okposo, who's had his health issues, Kyle Okposo was not the driving factor on his line. Matt Molson was not the driving factor on his line. Who was the driving factor both times? To centerman. You know him well.
Is it Pierre Engvall?
It's not Pierre Engvall. Close. Move up just a little bit.
John Tavares. Oh, John Tavares. They committed
enormous amounts of money to both of those players, and that's just two examples. Could never figure out the goaltending, and it's far more well documented how bad Peter Chiarelli was in Edmonton. They are still feeling the effects of that today. So, I don't think it is. You could confidently say that. I think if you had a competent general manager in that spot, you probably could do it, like a full teardown, a full restart. I don't know that it's recommended, but somebody's going to come along again and think that they're smart enough to pull it off.
And here's where the Leafs rebuild differs from those two. The Leafs were bad by accident, leading into them being bad on purpose. Right? So they were bad on purpose 1 year and they got Austin Matthews out of it. But the 2 years where they were bad by accident, Marner was half by accident, half on purpose, and Nylander was by accident. They didn't mean to have the 8th overall pick.
They were trying for the playoffs that year.
Yeah, they were accidentally bad. And they got William friggin' Nylander out of it, and Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. Whereas Buffalo just went like I'm trying to think back. Like they had Sam Reinhart. Was the piece they had before Eichel. Imagine. I feel so bad for Reinhart because you can only be the person you are. But imagine the Sabres have Eichel and Draisaitl.
Right.
It's completely different.
It's at the very least it's Edmonton.
And Reinhart's fine. He's fine. At very least it's Edmonton. It's Edmonton with Dahlin.
Maybe not. not. Maybe not, because maybe they don't finish in that spot to draft Darlene.
You're probably right. It's
so, but all the same, it's at least, and if, if who's their goalie? Is it Hutton?
Hutton's not really playing. It's Jonas Johansson has gotten into a few games, and Linus Ullmark is the one who's doing very well. Yeah.
Right. So, they've got relative to how good Buffalo is. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think in both of those cases, you had general managers that made clear at the time bad moves that people said the minute the ink dries on that contract, it's bad. The minute this trade goes through, it's bad. Like, think about Peter Chiarelli. All he had to do when he took over is nothing. He has Taylor Hall. He has Connor McDavid. He has Jordan Eberle. He has Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think he's got Oscar Klefbom, Darnell Nurse, all these guys that are coming up. The only thing Peter Chiarelli really needed to do was go get a goalie. But what did he do? He traded Hall for Adam Larson, one of the worst trades 1-for-1 in NHL history. It's so bad. And then he didn't address the fact that he didn't have a goaltender ever. And 3 days before he's fired, he signs Mikko Koskinen, a career not good goalie, to a historically not good contract for them.
He did have Talbot, but then
he did go get Talbot.
But once Talbot brought them to the playoffs, and I thought was robbed of a Vezina, they were just like, actually, he's shit now.
I give him the credit for Talbot, though. He did have a good first year there. He really did.
He did. That's I did a trade tree where I actually defended the Oilers trading Petrie to the Habs because they ended up getting Talbot out of it, and that was their best chance to win. And at the end of the day, isn't that what this is all about? The best thing they could have done is nothing. That's very funny, Adam.
Next question. This one comes from Jason Armstrong. Was Ovi's 5K well spent? Ovi speared Boston's Trent Frederick last night and was fined $5,000.
And wouldn't fight him either.
Yeah, he wouldn't fight Trent Frederick. Listen, that's a good player, but why would Alexander Ovechkin fight Trent Frederick, who, by the way, I need to look this up. He's from Boston, right?
Also, I don't know if it's Frederick. You know how you can pronounce it either way?
Some people are like that.
Frederick?
Frederick or Frederick? I don't know. He's Trent.
Let me look up Trent Frederick.
There you go.
He's from St. Louis, Missouri. Mm-hmm. So I didn't expect that, because have you seen the footage of Trent Frederick getting into his first career NHL fight with his parents in attendance?
No.
It is wonderful. Everyone who hasn't seen it, go look it up right now, because they have his dad mic'd up for it, and he sees it. He sees it, and he's getting into a fight in front of the net. And he's like, "Oh yeah, get him, Trent! Get him, Trent! Yeah, baby!" Absolutely coming undone. And he was wearing a Red Sox hat, and I'm like, tell me, this is a Boston guy, born and raised, watching his son get into a fight for the Bruins. Please tell me
he's a St. Louis guy and not wearing a Cards hat. That's crazy.
I mean, maybe I misunderstood maybe it was a Cards hat. I don't think it was, though. But Trent Frederick, first round pick, by the way, 2016. Mm-hmm. Big boy. Oh yeah, the money well spent. So if you make, so Alexander Ovechkin was fined $5,000.
Yeah, pennies.
Yeah. So the equivalent is if you make $75,000, if you were fined $39.
It's like a parking ticket.
I've gotten more expensive parking tickets. Like, for someone I truly hate, if it cost $39, if someone was like, would you like to PayPal $39 to spear this person in the nuts? I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Right.
I'll do it.
And it's funny because, Steve, you would have to talk to the police after that in real life. You can't just go spearing guys in the nuts. No,
someone approached me.
No. The $39, it wipes everything clean.
It wipes it clean.
Well, then you still pay the fine. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Done.
If a cop was like, hey, I saw that, and then he pulls out like one of those, tap here. Especially if they have tap, then it's really easy. I don't got to type anything in. If all I got to do is tap my card and I get to spear you in the nuts for $39, yeah, I'll spend that. And then I'll go home and get a Top Shot card that's even more expensive than that.
Okay. There you
So
go.
the cops are carrying around a little square reader, Jack Dorsey's Square, and they tap your credit card and you get to spear people in the nuts. This is your reality?
Yes.
Good.
Now it's $39 American though.
Oh.
So now we're into like $50 territory. 55 even. And then it's like, what do I look like? I'm made of money. But still 55 to like spear your enemy in the nards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's tempting.
You could take like $1,000 and have a good day.
Yeah.
Just get just go on a rampage.
Elon Musk
like
would
a couple
do that.
hundred.
Elon Musk would.
Today's the day.
Imagine every time, if I was Elon Musk, every time I got a mean tweet, I would just tweet them back a picture of me in like a Joker style pile of money. And this is my spearing you in the nuts pile.
Yeah.
See this right here? This is more than anyone in your bloodline has ever made. And this is just my spear you in the nuts money. And I'm literally going to fly there on a jetpack I invented. Okay, I paid someone to invent. Whatever, I'm Elon Musk. Prepare your nuts. Sorry, did that answer your question?
I think so. This is from Rocky Fluorite. They want to point out that Marc-Andre Fleury is on pace right now to win the Vezina at the age of 36. I'm going to pull up his hockey GD.
On pace to win the Vezina?
Fashion.
He's won the March 4th Vezina. We're going to get a trophy made. It's going to be called the March 4th Vezina, and Marc-Andre Fleury is receiving it from the Steve Dangle podcast. He is right now 11-3 with a .939 save percentage.
Oh, good for him.
Robin Lehner, by the way, 3-1-1, good record, .890 save percentage.
Whoa. I smell the contrary. You know what? I'm just glad that Marc-Andre Fleury has survived the wound that he sustained last year.
Well, Adam, it also begs the question, who is Robin Lehner's agent and what is their Twitter handle?
Oh, man. That'd be great.
I want to know. Oh, they should do it. What? They should absolutely do it as a joke. Robin Lehner's agent needs to get on Twitter and tweet a picture of Robin Lehner with a sword through his back. They need to do it because that is what the Vegas Golden. Hey, you need to ignore who the better goalie is right now and play my client. That's what I learned last year. No, listen. Fleury lost his job last year, as he should have. And right now, Lehner has lost his job, as he should have.
As he should have. Yep.
I mean, what a great problem to have. You have Fleury and Lehner. Good for you.
I can't wait for someone to pay a boatload for Marc-Andre Fleury this summer. It's going to happen.
Oh,
I think his deal's up. Isn't his deal up?
I think you're right because he signed 3 years times 7.
It'd be funny if he went and was the starting goaltender for the Seattle Kraken.
It would be.
That'd be fun. Just
you know who needs a goalie? Franchise. Pittsburgh.
No, Jarry's been good in the last 10-ish games. Tristan Jarry's had a rebound. He had a rough start, and he's been good lately.
But wouldn't you like to see it? Doesn't it seem right?
Yeah, Jesse, you're getting far too caught up in the does it make sense thing.
I'm getting far too caught up in loser alley of him playing well.
He would take less money to go back to Pittsburgh, right?
Finish him taking minimum, league min, and just being a backup. Why not?
Yeah. Well, ride out Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin's last few good years. They could be 3 to 5 years before they're not good anymore. And even then, I still think they're going to be great.
I'm contractually obligated to mention this player, by the way.
James Reimer.
Nope.
Okay.
Because since we're talking about the Penguins, this player is second in defensive scoring on the Penguins.
Cody Ceci.
He's already doubled his goal total from last year, and he is 2 points shy of his point total. Cody Ceci.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, he's got 6 points in 18 games. Still 10 penalty minutes. but he did lay out Tom Wilson, which is good.
That's good. Listen, when people tell me that the North Division is bad, I'll point them at the East.
Wow.
Oh my God, the East isn't good. Like, I don't think anybody's pretending it's good.
No, I mean, look, Cody Cece's doing well, you know? Like, hey, you're right. This is fun. I can see why people do this.
Statistics on Twitter wants to ask you guys if Sandin will ever get his shot.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to lose Dermott in the expansion draft, so that's when Sandin gets a shot.
They might not. He's not under contract. The thing with Sandin, some people don't know this. He's injured right now. Like, he broke his foot or something like that in his first game.
Yes.
First game back with the Marlies. So, it's not about the Leafs going, we're not going to give him a shot. They wanted to give him the opportunity to play, and now he can't play because he's injured. Liljegren, though, I think is going to get in some games. And I was seeing some tweets about tonight's lineup in Vancouver. It looks like Patan's going to go in for Boyd, but Keefe didn't say anything, I don't think, about defense. This seems like the perfect game for Liljegren to get his first game of the season.
Be nice.
It would be nice. So
I do want to know, like,
he'll play before Sandin does.
If he went from, oh my God, we can't believe we got him, to this guy might be a bust, to this guy is a bust, to people don't even talk about him anymore. But I wonder if Timothy Liljegren rises from the ashes and becomes a serviceable top four defenseman, which is what we all hoped.
I think he's going to. I really do. I mean, it would be about bloody time. Mm-hmm. He's got to. This is the problem with good teams. You got to take someone's job.
Tough to do.
Whose job are you taking on this team? Like, does he deserve to play over Brodie? No. Hall? No. So Bogosian's the only guy in your way, and he's been great.
Yeah, Bogosian's been like really great. Yeah.
There haven't really been any weak links. He's a better puck handler than I thought, a better skater than I thought. Guys, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Jesse, last question.
We launched merch last week, and we got a comment on Instagram from somebody who's fairly new to the show, and they asked us, hey, what the hell is Dangle Navy? That has nothing to do with anything that's going on the show. And I thought to myself, that's a good point. That must not make any sense to someone who is just listening. So do you guys want to explain the Rihanna Battleship Dangle Navy tie-in that led to the Steve Dangle Army being called the Dangle Navy?
I had to explain this recently, and I felt like an idiot the entire time. And this is your creation, you two. So you explain it. Explain it to everybody.
Now, Jesse knows how bad my memory is. So, Jesse, I'll kick us off here, but if I miss anything, please fill in the gap. So we were talking about fan groups for certain artists. So for Selena Gomez, it's the Selenators or something like that. With Demi Lovato, it was the Lovotics.
Believers, famously the Believers.
Yeah. Beehive.
Right. And for some reason, so Rihanna was in that really terrible movie with Liam Neeson, which automatically makes it awesome again, called Battleship. And I did see it, and it's painful. Like, it's really bad.
Oh no.
And it's like aliens are coming into Earth, and we're going to shoot them with battleships. It's just a bizarre.
It's a movie based on the stupid board game. Like, of course it's going to be bad.
It's just like, we're going to defeat them with our big old battleship.
Oh, no.
big old cannon guns, America. Anyway,
aliens can't defeat that extraordinarily large but slow-moving object
that can't corner and is easily visible on radar. I don't know what we're gonna do.
I've never seen it, but do they say in the movie they sunk my battleship?
I'm sure they do, but I can't remember it.
Okay.
I was high. I'm not gonna lie, I was high. And even then it was bad. It was pretty bad. Get high and watch Battleship sometime, maybe.
Did you do Cats?
No, I can't do Cats. No, I've heard TJ said, TJ from Virgin Radio on the show, he said it was so bad that people were applauding it. Like, in the theater. They were laughing out loud at certain parts and stuff like that. It was just so bad. So anyway, I don't know. But anyway, so the back to the fan group thing. The reason we went with the Dangle Navy is because Steve's like, well, what was Rihanna's? And we're like, it's the Navy. And he's like, why? And we had to explain that she was in this terrible movie called Battleship. And he's like, that's really stupid. And I said, it'd be really funny is if we named Steve Dangle fans the Dangle Navy. And he's like, no. And then literally,
don't do it.
I think the next month or something, we're at a Marlies game. And we used to do these really
against
cool
the
things.
Admirals.
Against the Admirals, which
Yes.
is perfect. And we would get an entire section. So we would talk to the Marlies and they would be like, okay, guys, so if you want to sell tickets, we'll give you, 20% off or whatever it was. Everybody gets the code and we'll sit you all in the same section together. And then Steve, Jesse, and I would be in the middle of that. And I actually remember that game really well for a few reasons. And I'll get to the second. My favorite reason, though, is Jesse telling the Marlies mascot to dab as loud as he possibly could. And Jesse doesn't like, this is when dabbing was new. It wasn't like all over Fortnite because Fortnite didn't even exist yet. But Jesse, when he wants to, can have the loudest, screechiest voice you've ever heard in your life. You think Steve and I are loud. Jesse's like a whole next level. And he's like, dab! And everybody's looking around like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But anyway, the literally showed up in naval outfits.
Yes.
That said Navy on it, and it just took off from there.
Because we were trolling Steve and said your fan base should be the Dangle Navy.
So now
People
it's
brought Dangle Navy signs, and there was a guy who worked for the Marlies who was like, "Why is there a girl here in like a sailor outfit?" And I had to explain the stupid story about Battleship and Rihanna, and they did not get it.
No,
I don't think they got it.
It's gotta be. That's got to be 5 years ago now, right? 3 minimum.
About that.
Like it was maybe Babs' first year, maybe 4 years ago. Like it was a long time ago now. It's crazy to think how we used to do that. And we used to do the Marlies games where we used to go. So everybody would bring their skates and we would sit in that section. Then we get to skate on the ice afterwards.
Yep.
That was cool.
That was
Jesse blew my mind by saying it was before Fortnite. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right.
Adam said that.
Oh,
yeah.
No, but Jesse blew your mind. He blew my mind with that.
I said it, but Jesse blew your mind. And I get
so
that.
much. But it's better to think that he said it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get it. Fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, and so, honestly, and I think our guy with the Marlies moved on to like MasterCard or something. So we don't even have the ticket guy. I'm sure we could reach out to them again sometime when this is all over. But those were fun. Those are fun times. Those
Are you the Sailor Outfit podcast? Yes, click.
That's wild to think. And remember we got a box too at the Marlies game?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of listeners in a box. And...
So the crazy story about the box that we should tell is that when we got the box, we thought this was super cool. And then they started serving us food. We're like, wow, that's great. So, we had a whole bunch of guys who were there. And I think the bill ended up being like $1,200 and we had to split it 3 ways. We're like, oh, they're not covering it. We're just going to pay the bill. So
the box was covered, but not the food in the box.
Right.
I had no idea.
And normally, we thought the people in the box that were with us, the winners, were like, we're going to buy their own. And that was okay. Or the Marlies were going to cover it. We just didn't think. So each of us at the end of the game was like, all right, we're all forking out. Was it $300 or $400
each?
It's an expensive promotion.
At an American Hockey League game.
Right. It was like, oh, so we're paying for this box.
Yeah.
Essentially what happened.
It was almost as much as it cost to stream AHL hockey that year.
Wow.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
I could have had, some pretzels and pizza and maybe 4 beers. Or AHL Live.
Yeah, for AHL Live. No kidding. Yeah, so that's the Dangle Navy thing. That's true. Sometimes we forget how inside some of these things can be because you pick up new listeners every year and it feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
2020 doesn't even exist in my mind. Like it's just a lost year. It goes 2019 to 2021 already. Not even thinking about it. So it's pretty nuts how things have changed and how fast things have gone. And I cannot wait to get out and do that again. Maybe if anybody from the Marlies hears this, we'd love to do that again. That was fun.
On the topic of merch, people have already received theirs, or some people have.
Americans we'll get it first, right?
Man, that's fast. And I'm hearing it's very comfortable. And I say I'm hearing because we haven't even gotten our own yet.
Yeah.
So
well, we ordered a lot of our own stuff, so it's a big box they need to haul across the country.
I got the jacket. I want the jacket.
It's coming.
It's a jacket.
I made Jesse. This is a kind of behind the scenes thing too. I made Jesse create a zip up like hoodie. We didn't have one originally. I'm like, Jesse, I'm way too damn hot. You need to, please, God, please help me. So he did one just for me. So if you bought the hoodie, thank Jesse. because Jesse did that just because I'm like, the hot boys out there and the hot girls out there know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It gets too hot. I started the show wearing a sweater. I had to take it off, and I took off my socks.
Not hot as in attractiveness. Hot.
No.
Temperature.
No.
Yeah. And like raise your arms above your head for what? Put a zipper.
Well, it'll mess up your hair or whatever, you know? That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, Adam, you got really neat hair.
What?
Perfectly kept, isn't it?
You got a horn the whole show.
Are
But
you
like,
taking a dig at Adam's hair?
no,
Yeah, man.
it's just
My hair is great. What are you talking about? Look at this hair.
you're I just got out of bed guy. You know, I get it.
Oh.
I get it. No, it's no big deal. You know, it's no big deal. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you guys live in a stupid place and haven't been able to get your haircut. So
That's true.
Oh yeah, we're just abiding by the law and not getting haircuts for 100
imagine
years.
not living in
Whatever.
Oshawa. And hey, I got a lawful haircut the other day.
So, Jesse,
It was lawful.
if we live 100 years,
Okay.
and one of those 100 years, it's better to live in Oshawa than Toronto. Are you comfortable with that ratio?
No, I think Steve won.
No, he won. It's over.
Yeah. I'd rather have that 1 year than the other 99.
True. It's a good point. Yeah. See? Hey, the great thing about going into lockdown in Oshawa is it's kind of the same.
Hey, that's partially true. Stop it. You stop it. Honestly, yeah, it's just everyone wears a mask.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, they do downtown too. It's a very
no, that's not a dig at Toronto. It's just I'm trying to think of things I've noticed. And then I'm thinking of all the businesses I've seen boarded up and now I feel sad. But
great. Great.
yeah, I got a haircut the other day, so that was cool.
That's cool. Well, listen, we're going to wrap, but we love you. We will see you Monday. Lots of exciting things on the way. Check out sdpn.ca if you're looking for a new pair of track pants. They are gray, which is honestly, if you do not have at least one gray pair of sweatpants, it's the problem. You need to have gray sweatpants. Number one. And then you can get the other colors later. Am I right, guys?
Yeah. Do you want Dangle Navy right next to your pocket? You can get that.
And with that,
a reality.
Oh, God.
we'll see you next week.
Stop the record.
They have pockets. That's important to keep your things.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.